Open your eyes to knife-edge cold. A low flyover skims a Pleistocene steppe, snow thinned by wind to reveal patches of straw-gold grass. Air hisses across the mic like a saw against steel. At the edge of a narrow meltwater ribbon, a crush of Irish elk crowds the bank. Their antlers whole chandeliers of bone lacing together in the mist. From downfield, a bull-woolly rhino plows in, round as a moving boulder wrapped in fur, breath steaming, a low, curved horn cutting the wind. A young elk, jittery and bold, throws its rack to bluff and accidentally blocks the path. The rhino drops its head. Two weapons, one wide, one pointed, close the last half second. Freeze it there, the rhino's horn about to rise into the elk's belly. The elk's broad palm of bone on a trajectory across the rhino's neck. On this icegrass plain, you don't need a predator to die. One bad hit will do. This is late Pleistocene Europe. Winters drag on. The cold bites through thin snow. Poor forage scrapes across the tongue. Melt leads are rare and become biological choke points where everything with a stomach gathers. Elk, woolly rhino, bison, the silhouettes of wild horses in the distance. Here, size writes rules in blunt font. Irish elk stand near 2 meters at the shoulder, their racks spanning 3.5 to 4 meters like a walking gait. Woolly rhino reach roughly the same shoulder height, but pack a ton of weight low to the ground. Their forward horn set right where it menaces the chests of other grazers. There is no clinic and no physical therapy. A broken leg, a blown joint, a cracked horn, even a fractured pedicle where the antler meets the skull each can end the season. In a hungry year, injury is just death spelled slowly. Look closely at the elk, magnificent, yes, and expensive to own. Antlers are living billboards and also cross-cutting blades. They spread in broad palms and tines, dense, heavy, grown each year from a thick pedicle on the skull, and then shed. That annual reset is a triumph of physiology and a serious energy bill. Within the species, fights are mostly rules-based. Lock, push, twist, test. The goal is to read strength, not to open arteries. Against other species, that geometry flips. A rack is poor at piercing. It excels at shoving, sweeping, and slicing sideways. A lucky sweep across a rhino's neck or shoulder can strip hide and bruise muscle, but it rarely penetrates deep the way a narrow horn can. The body that carries that crown is a resonant box for risk. Long legs help on snow, but a high center of gravity means a single hit to the legs or a slip on ice can tilt the entire machine. The antlers themselves create blind arcs left and right. Fast head turns are clumsy in a crowd. At a water edge, where racks interweave, one wrong pivot can tangle with a neighbor, or worse, find bone in a stranger's ribs. Antlers can regrow, that much is true, but an impact that fractures the pedicle sends force into skull and cervical spine places with no new season to fix the error. Now the rhino beauty stripped down to function. Its weapon is low, straight, brutally practical. The forward horn is keratin, not bone but thick, tough, and resilient under bending and impact. When a rhino commits, it lowers the head, loads the forelimbs, and drives a half parabola from below toward a belly or chest. The arithmetic is simple. Body mass plus acceleration delivered through a narrow contact. That is how holes are made. The cost sits in the fine print. Horns do not snap as readily as bone, but when they do chip or break, they never come back quite the same. Choose the wrong angle, slam that horn into hard antler, and the rebound can travel into the neck, shoulder, and foreleg joints, the very hinges that carry a ton of animal across winter ground. Everything else about the rhino's chassis spreads and absorbs load. The back is rounded under a dense coat with insulating fat beneath. The shape helps shed a lateral blow. Legs are short and stout. The center of mass rides low, making a full tip over unlikely. But knees and ankles are small gates under a big wall. A clean lateral hit there is a lever straight into failure. Behavior fills out the design. Woolly rhinos avoid pointless collisions. They reserve fury for blocked paths or contested feeding lanes. In a crowd, they prefer straight lines and minimal turns. Inertia is a friend they trust. Run the first scenario, late light, and a wind that skates the meltwater. The elk mob pushes in tight. A large bull tries to wedge forward. His rack sweeps and other antlers clack. Several bodies jump in surprise. A rhino at the water's edge is turned away, busy pawing for grass under crusted snow. The young elk from the opening beat bumps its antlers hard into the rhino's rump, rude and unwise. Startled, the rhino pivots half a body, drops the head, and fires a reflex jab with almost no run-up. Slow it down. The horn rises on a diagonal, catching belly and the forward leg in one motion. The angle is too oblique to spear through the rib cage, but it crushes muscle and may crack one or two ribs. The foreleg kicks sideways, ligaments twist, a joint pops and swells. The elk backs out, but the gait is uneven. A migration measured in miles becomes an ordeal measured in pain. Now a snow squall. Visibility falls to a gauze. An alpha elk leads his herd across an open flat, saving wind for those behind. Ahead, a rhino digs a trench for sedges, back humped like a breathing boulder. From a distance, the elk reads only a hulking shape in the drift. An elk, he thinks. Rudely blocking the path, he draws the last charge of a lean season, drops the head, and commits to a lesson in proper lane courtesy. In slow motion, the wide rack sweeps into the rhino's shoulder just as the horn shoots up in reflex. A double injury blooms in a blink. On the elk, the rebound loads the pedicle, skull, and neck, risking microfractures, concussion, and whiplash, even if the antler does not snap. On the rhino, the shoulder girdle strains. Muscle and ligaments stretch past safe. A hairline crack may open in the scapula. If the next step finds slick ice, the rhino can slip and wrench an ankle, an error with a long bill in deep winter. Shift the strike line a few inches lower, and the elk's sweep meets the rhino's ankle square. A lateral force like that can fissure bone. A 1-ton body hanging on a broken hinge in a blizzard is the definition of slow judgment. So which weapon is more dangerous in an ice age? The elk's rack is equal parts display and domestic combat gear, safe, within rules, when both parties share the handbook. Against other species, it buys space, herds crowds, trips and topples, cuts across, but it tangles often and channels big rebound back into the carrier. The rhino's horn, paired with a low center of mass, is a single-purpose tool for short, direct violence. One well-timed thrust can break a leg or open a belly and end the story without drama. But angle matters. Hit bone-hard antler badly, and the dead arrives in the rhino's own joints. At distance, out in the open, the rhino is the silhouette nobody argues with. Few animals volunteer to stand in front of a moving straight line. In a crush at a thaw line, where antlers weave like a forest of sticks and sight lines are chopped to pieces by steam and wind, the elk can become its own worst enemy, sparking chaos that punishes the nearest body, sometimes his. Weapon design isn't just about how hard you hit. It's about what still works after you hit. Antlers can fall and return. Horns can wear and chip and carry on. But a broken leg in deep winter has no sequel. The final picture returns to the water margin and the white breath of two giants. Wind combs through bone crowns, and over a low horn made for ramming, the bodies separate. A corridor opens. Quiet returns. Next time, add a true predator to the frame, a smilodon, or a short-faced bear, and see how the calculus shifts. On that day, antlers and horn won't only be weapons, they'll be boundary lines between the ones who keep moving and dinner.